The Unthinkable, the Chaos Wizard, the Dark Horse, and the Dream Killer. These are the four nicknames I give these four teams, one for each team, to describe what they are going to do or have the potential to do this upcoming season to impact the championship game and playoff races of their conference. We're just going to get right into it and start off with Miami, the Unthinkable. And Miami's the Unthinkable because they haven't done anything in nearly 2 decades. Miami hasn't won a conference championship ever in the ACC. Their last conference championship was in 2003 in the Big East Conference. And their last national title was, 20 years ago. More than 20 years ago. In fact, in 2001, if you include them. It was in early 2001 as well. That's why I say more than 20 years. And Miami, you look at their schedule and the fact that they play at North Carolina and they face Alabama in an opener at a neutral site, and it would be pretty unthinkable for this team to get anywhere past just a potential New Year's Six Bowl or fringe New Year's Six Bowl, if you know what I'm talking about, bowl game berth. It would be pretty hard to think otherwise. But it is the unthinkable. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Miami certainly has the talent to do so with De'Aaron King, with Rhett Lashley as OC, and really just all in all, with Manny Diaz returning to play calling on the defensive side, we should see a much better and improved Miami football team on the defensive side. I'm firmly in belief of that. And De'Aaron King, again, game changer, quarterback. And Miami is the team that recruits the best in Florida. At least they did last year, and I believe the year before. And when Mark Richt was there in his short tenure, they recruited pretty well in Florida as well. And Miami, all the pieces are there, but the question is, can they do it? And that is why I named them the Unthinkable. Because if they come out and somehow, not saying it'll happen again, I do not want to put off that impression, they somehow beat Alabama, somehow beat North Carolina, somehow get an 11-1 or 12-0 regular season, and then beyond that, reaching the championship game, and somehow beating Clemson, that would be one of the greatest stories ever. Like, are you kidding me? Because no one, with how the Canes are treated, with kind of their mental in-game weakness being a known joke and fact amongst everyone else in the college football world. And I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm saying that because that's what I see. That's what others see. But that would be amazing. And it would just show that they're going in the right direction and all that. But if this doesn't happen, Miami fans do not be disappointed, because getting 9 or 10 wins, and especially playing better on defense, if your only losses are to Alabama and to North Carolina, and North Carolina and Alabama are as good as I think they will be, which are at minimum double-digit win teams, and let's say you win a New Year's Six Bowl too and finish 11-2, you're definitely heading in the right direction. And after Miami, I do want to talk about Florida State. And Florida State is the Chaos Wizard. And I say this because Florida State is in no position, unlike all these other 3 teams, to at least enter the New Year's Six Bowl or even playoff conversation. I look at Florida State, look at Notre Dame, North Carolina, Clemson, Miami, Boston College, Florida, NC State. I mean, I just listed off 7 teams that could be losses. And Wake Forest, too. It's an away game. Wake Forest has had some winning seasons in the past, and with Florida State's current predicament, any team with a winning season can pose a threat. But Florida State, I think, will beat Notre Dame. That'll be their main upset, and that's why I called them the Chaos Wizard. And it's not just because I think they'll beat Notre Dame for the fact that Notre Dame returns no one, and the fact that Jack Cohn has had a history of not doing enough to keep their team in important games. Wisconsin, mentioning the 2 Ohio State games the Illinois game, and even the Rose Bowl just in general. Really, just I look at Notre Dame here. Their whole team's new, practically. Florida State, you have Mackenzie Milton coming from UCF as well, a team we'll get to later. Very good QB. Jordan Travis also in the conversation. And Florida State still has talent. They still get decent recruiting classes. I have faith in Mike Norvell as a coach 100%. And I see, along with the Notre Dame victory that I'm going to call an upset, you get Jacksonville State at Wake Forest, which I think will be a win here. They'll beat Syracuse. Louisville's kind of a toss-up, but seeing how poorly they did last year, I have to give Florida State the edge here with the home. So they'll start out 5-0, 4-1 maybe. North Carolina will be a loss. UMass will be a win, and right there you go bowling or you break. Clemson, and by break I mean 5 wins against a tough stretch of 5 teams. At Clemson should be a loss. North Carolina State, I think, will be a loss. They return practically everyone. Dave Doran is a really good head coach. I think they return their decently good quarterback, too. Miami could be another upset game. Same with NC State, because NC State does have the potential to be ranked entering this matchup. Well, I don't think Florida State will be. Miami and NC State could be upsets, but I just think those teams are more talented, and they have, for now, until Florida State proves otherwise, they do have the better QBs. Boston College is another toss-up game, and then the Florida Gators should be a loss as well. And I'm going to give this game to Boston College here and give the Louisville game to Florida State. So they're a 6-6 team. They're a team that'll go bowling. Improvement under Mike Norvell. Probably will get them on the hot seat in 2022. But I look at Notre Dame upset. If you can beat Notre Dame, there's a good chance you can also contest against North Carolina, NC State, and even Miami, if I'm being really honest with you here. And that's why I call Florida State the Chaos Wizard. And it's because I have faith in Mike Norvell. I have faith in Mackenzie Milton. And this team, I do think, will open up the season with an upset that will shock a lot of people and at the same time please a lot of those people. After Florida State, we have the lovely team of UCF. And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that I think UCF actually has the best chance. This is going to sound crazy. The best chance out of all of these teams at reaching the playoffs. And here is why. UCF, this is why they're the chaos team. They're not a chaos team because they have a tough schedule and they can upset a lot of good teams besides Cincinnati. They're a chaos team because they only have Cincinnati on their schedule, and they have Gus Malzahn as their head coach, who's known to cause chaos by beating Bama and having miracles all around. And they do return Dillon Gabriel. They've gotten some transfers to beef up every part of their team. And I look at this team here, and let's say they lose to Cincinnati in the regular season, and Cincinnati finishes an undefeated regular season or a one-loss regular season. They're both ranked in the championship game, and UCF does what it does under Gus Malzahn, and they upset Cincinnati. Is there not enough evidence that this team can possibly be the 4th seed in the playoff, depending on how things bounce? Or let's say they beat Cincinnati twice, finish undefeated, which would not surprise me under Gus Malzahn to do in his first year with a great quarterback in a team that has proven itself to do very well despite being the least talented out of them, Florida State, Miami, and Florida. They do start off against Boise State, which could be a tough game, but I think that will be a win. Bethune-Cookman will be a win as well. Same with Louisville, I believe, and that Power 5 win at Louisville could beef up their resume. Navy, East Carolina will be easy wins. At Cincinnati will be the toughest one. That could be an upset. Watch out for Memphis and at SMU later on as well. But besides that, I think this UCF team is in great shape to go 11-1 in the regular season and possibly even 12-1 in including the championship game. And in the end here, that's why I call them the dark horse. Because out of all of these teams, despite their weaker schedule, and despite the fact that they are a group of 5 team, looking at how hard these other teams' schedules are, and the fact that I think they are underpowered compared to their opponents, UCF does have the easiest path to the playoff. And I do think they have the coach to do it, at least for the first year. Gus Malzahn did pretty well, all things considered, in the SEC, especially in his first year. I can only imagine what miracles and greatness he will work in the American Conference. And last but not least, we have the Florida Gators, who I have nicknamed the Dream Killer. And I say this because Georgia. Let's only talk about the Georgia game. The rest of their schedule, outside of the Alabama and LSU game and maybe Kentucky, but I'd say more LSU, are pretty irrelevant compared to this Georgia game. And I say this because, let's say Georgia, 2 scenarios here. Let's say Georgia loses to Clemson, and they travel to TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, where annually these 2 teams match up to play at the neutral site. And let's say Georgia enters with 1 loss. And Florida here is in a position where they've lost to Alabama and maybe they've lost to Kentucky or LSU. So even if they beat Georgia here, they're still going to be behind in the race for the championship game. However, they beat Georgia. Georgia's a 2-loss team. Georgia ain't making the playoff. There's no way that Georgia loses to a Florida team that doesn't win, that doesn't have a double-digit win total. They lose to Clemson. That'd be 2 big games lost. It would be hard for them to reach the playoff. And here you'd have one of Georgia's best teams, probably the most talented team under Kirby Smart, just lose it before the conference championship. Scenario number 2, Florida's really good. They likely still don't beat Bama here, but let's say they are 6-1. They beat Kentucky and beat LSU, who will be, because they're away games, because LSU's talented and will likely have momentum entering this game with a kind of warm-up schedule, and because I think Kentucky's going to be solid next year, they beat 2 teams that are at least viewed at the time as solid. They enter the Georgia game 6-1. Georgia enters 7-1. Well, not 7-1. 7-0, 6-1. I'm just going to go with 7-0 for the purposes here. And Florida wins. And here is another dream killer, because even though Georgia has a better chance at the playoff because they only have 1 loss, the kicker here is they won't make the SEC championship game unless Florida loses another game. And the games after the Georgia game, at South Carolina, hosting Samford, who's a non-conference opponent, so that wouldn't even matter if we're talking about appearing in the championship game, at Missouri, and Florida State wouldn't even matter either. Out of South Carolina and at Missouri, Florida would have to lose one of those games. Florida would truly only have to try in 2 of the last 4 games to prevent Georgia from retaking the SEC East championship berth and therefore going to Atlanta. And that right there would be a dream killer, because even though Georgia might still make it to the playoff, they could not win the SEC. Again, one of their better teams, their best under Kirby Smart by talent, couldn't win the SEC. So that is how all of these teams can cause chaos. It's a different kind of video. My top 25 is coming tomorrow, but thank you for watching. And if you liked it, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, comment all of your thoughts below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys around.